You're welcome. I was thinking, about Noel. I saw some of the pictures up here, and it made me think the ICU room that we lived in for about 6 months. Hers was about this big and about that big. And her bed was right here and had all the machines, and the beep, 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 and the trees with all the IVs on them. And she was going through this. She was in a coma. She weighed about 100 pounds. She had a breathing machine, all kinds of stuff. And there's a little place to sit next to her and a little place to sleep on a little chair. I remember, people find humor, right, especially in tragedy, in just the weirdest places. And we can never figure out, because she was pretty much 100 pounds every day. And then every once in a while, she'd go up to 102, 2.5 pounds. And then it'd go back down. And this went on and on and on. And couldn't really figure it out. And then one day we figured out, well, when she was 102.5 pounds and it went down to 100, that's the day she pooped. and we're like, 2.5 pound poop, we gotta name that thing, I mean, so you find humor in the weirdest places. But thanks for laughing at that, by the way. When I was 6 years old, my father had a very lucrative job. He was a salesperson. He did very well. Had a little sports car. Had like 30 Oxford shirts and suits. He was like Que Suave, like Pastor Raul. And but he decided to go to seminary and become a minister because his father was and his grandfather was. And so he went to study theology and become a minister. And so when he got there, shortly after he got there, he found out he had cancer. I was about 6 years old. And so he was going to school, and he had cancer, and he was going through chemo, and it didn't look very bad. I mean, he was very athletic. And I remember about a year and a half in, he came home, and he took his shirt off, and he showed me his way back in the day where they put the ink marks on you to line up the x-ray machine when you're laying on the table. And he was all happy. He said, hey, they couldn't find any tumors. God healed me. And not too long after that, it came back out of remission, stronger than ever. And I remember one night, it's probably closer to 9 then, he was wheeled out on a gurney out of the place where we were living. And I remember the flashing lights of the ambulances. He looked up at me as he went by. He said, son, he said, if you'll just pray for me, I'll be healed. Just pray and believe I'll be healed. Well, not too long after that, my mom had to come home and tell me he died. Because they didn't let kids in the hospital back then. We used to talk back and forth on those little reel-to-reel tapes on the little microphone. And I remember sitting down and go, there must be something wrong with me, because I prayed as much as a 9-year-old could pray, and I believed, and he died. So I want to talk to everybody here, because I know everybody here has drug around one of those prayers that didn't get answered. I'm not talking about, God, don't let this cake have any calories. I'm not talking about that, or help me pass the test I didn't study for. I'm talking about the prayers that you had to have answered. That your life was at stake, or somebody else's life, or somebody's marriage, or something happened, or something that tore you up, and you did everything you could do. You read all the right scriptures. You heard testimonies of people being healed, and then yours wasn't answered in this little, the doubt gets a megaphone in your mind and starts yelling at you, you did something wrong, or you got to make a bargain with God, or he's not listening to you, or you're not good enough to get your prayer answered, or you didn't pray long enough, or you didn't fast enough, or you didn't read enough scripture. And you start to doubt yourself. And then the next time you pray, that little megaphone goes, why is he going to answer that one? He didn't answer the one before. I know we've all prayed for Noelle. But trust me, she's not done sitting in that chair. She doesn't want to stay there. Why hasn't that prayer been answered? 13 years. You know what she does? Every day she exercises. Every day we put weights on her ankles, and she holds this weight, and she can't use this arms, but we stuff a weight in it, and she tries to move it, and she moves every day. Every day, she laying on the bed, okay? And she, every day, and she does her crunches, as much as she can. But the one thing the one thing that gets me, the one thing that tears my heart out, the one thing that I have wanted to wrestle with the angel that Jacob wrestled with, and I wanted to grab that angel, and I wanted to say, you explain to her why she's not healed, because I have nothing else to say. She's asked me too many times. I don't know. And that's when she has this stand-up chair, and it's got a little shelf right here, and it's got a place where we kind of put blocks, and we strap her ankles together, and we have to stand her up to keep her, otherwise her bones will become brittle. All right, and they'll break. So it has a seat, and right next to the seat there's a handle. It's a hydraulic handle that lifts this seat up like this. And so she'll have her feet strapped in, and there's a thing that comes down against her knees, and I'll have to pump that thing, and she stands up a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, and everything's strapped in, and she can't move because her feet are drop foot, and she has no strength in them, so they got to be tightly strapped. And I'll be pumping this thing, and she'll be going up, and her body will start shaking, and she's in so much pain, and her lip starts quivering, and she's like this, and she goes, no, stop. And I'm standing there, okay, there's so much pain happening, and her lips quivering, and her hand that she can't use is just doing this, right? And I'll go, you want to go a little bit more? And she'll, yeah. And I pump it, and she goes a little bit more, and a little bit more. And she starts screaming in pain. And I look at Teresa, and I look at her, and I say, I can't do this anymore. I am not going to cause this type of pain. That's when I want to grab that angel and look at her. Don't you get pain in heaven? Can we not get your attention long enough to come down here and heal her? I'm the one who has to explain when she stays up all night praying, why didn't God heal me this morning? Why don't you do it? But then she goes, one more time, and I said, I'm done, I'm putting down. She'll go, no, I'm going to do it. And you want to know what happens to me? That's my girl. And she goes all the way up, and she stands there, and we put her back down, and she screams, but she said, I can't do it. When Jesus Christ was rolling around in the dirt, nobody stayed up to help him. He was sweating. He was terrified. He was in agony. He had spittle coming out of his mouth. He had stuff dripping off his nose. He was covered in dirt. And God loved him more than I love my daughter. You don't think it tore the Father's heart out to see the Son rolling around for hours alone, feeling dejected, feeling what he is about to bear, and God had set up the plan that now so sometimes we think, oh yeah, it was so cool, Jesus died and it's his son and it was all cool. No, he loved Jesus Christ more than I love my daughter. You don't think he's looking down here and saying, I can start over. I did it already. I don't have to make my son go through that. You don't think every angel, that warrior that had a sword was like, you say the word. We will go down there and wipe it out. That's your son. But you want to know what happened? You want to know what happened? He said, no, I'll do it. Not my will, but yours. Jesus Christ said, I'll do it. Every one of us is sitting here because he said he would do it. There would be no Christianity today if God said, I'm going to start over. That's my son, it ain't happening. How many of you have banged the steering wheel so hard, sitting at a stoplight? Why haven't you answered my prayer? How many of you, your heart has fallen out of your chest when you're leaning over the edge of your bed and there's spittle and tears an agony coming out of your body because, God, where are you? You have to understand when Jesus Christ said, I'll do it, he said, that's my boy. That's my boy. You see that, heaven? That's my boy. And when you're in agony and you sneak in the bathroom and you turn on the shower and you start crying and you hide it and you can't take it anymore. That prayer that you need answered so bad that everything you do now causes doubt. That everything that you do, you're like, why didn't you answer that prayer? Why aren't you answering? Where are you? I feel alone and dejected. Stand up and say, it's okay. I'm going to still believe. I'm going to do it. And you want to know what God's going to say? That's my girl. That's my boy. That's the power of the other side of an unanswered prayer. Because when you stand up and you say you'll do it, you rip the gates of hell off the hinges. There's nothing that can stand in your way then, because Jesus Christ said, blessed are those who see and believe. But blessed are those who don't see and still believe. You want to tear the gates of hell off? You want to be special? You stand up and say, don't worry, God. I trust you. I know there's something on the other side of this unanswered prayer. How many of you have wanted to give up and then you thought of her? How many in this building has she inspired? How many have said, I got no excuse. Look at her. How many? See it? I know you want to stand, and you will. But all these people are here to celebrate you, and you said, no, I'm going to do it. Yeah.